And speaking of Christmas, have you ever been scared by Christmas? A big old sleigh, heavy laden with reindeer landing on your roof and maybe crashing through. A strange man wandering into your house while you're sleeping. And let's not forget sitting on Santa's lap. Oh my. Christmas can be scary, right? According to the science of mind, the philosophy that we teach and that's written by Ernest Holmes, he says pain and fear are in consciousness. But consciousness so completely envelops the body that it appears to be intelligent. My message today is illuminating the fear as we're continuing our series this month of a season of illumination. This week we're approaching the winter solstice. It is the least amount of light we will have in any day this year. About 10 hours of light, 14 hours of darkness. And the darkness can bring on fear because we don't see as well, and our imaginations begin to make up things in the shadows that we can't tell what they are. And do you ever notice it goes dark and scary and spooky and oh my gosh? What's with that? Why don't we imagine fun, frivolous things coming out of the darkness? But we don't, right? Those shadows are something horrible coming after us. Sort of like when we were kids and the boogeyman was under the bed or in the closet or wherever it might be. Fear is an interesting emotion, though, isn't it? Is it only in the mind, as Holmes suggests? He also tells us that fear is the opposite of faith. What do you think? Is fear the opposite of faith? Faith the opposite of fear? As I prepared this week's message, I thought about fear and my fears. What am I afraid of? What am I no longer afraid of that perhaps I was afraid of at some point in my life? So it's been a week of reflecting on some of that. And I sort of skimmed the surface, and then I started to go a little bit deeper into it and really look at what were those fears? Why? What are they now? Why are they here? And how did I get rid of the ones that are not here any longer? That could be important information, right? When I first started learning about positive psychology from folks like Zig Ziglar and Tony Robbins, I began to change. I began to see that there were other possibilities in life. I began to realize that as I practiced those teachings, that I began to feel better. My life began to shift, began to change. It began to improve. And then in 1991, I found this teaching, The Science of Mind, a faith, a philosophy, a way of living. And it was the missing ingredient for me in that early positive psychology, motivational teaching. Jim mentioned Brian Tracy. He was in that class as well. But the spirituality part of it for me was missing at the level that I found it in the Science of Mind. All of that beginning around probably 1981 has completely transformed my perspective of life that I left Virginia with in 1979. I'm not that same person anymore at all. I remember when I left Virginia. Remember, I grew up in a one-stop-like town, right? Mayberry. Had everything I owned in a 1978 or 9 vintage Honda Civic that was about this big. Remember those? I mean, it was either on top or inside of it. And my dad counseled me before I left about traffic because I was going to the big city. And I better be careful in Dallas because they had clover leaves in Dallas. And if I wasn't careful, I'd get stuck on it. And I couldn't get off of it. He knew better than me. He'd been to California. So I took that in. I listened to all of that. And I worried about it my whole drive down as I went through Charlotte and Nashville and Little Rock. And I got outside of Dallas and I got a room for the night on Saturday night because I wasn't going into Dallas on Saturday. I was going to go Sunday morning really early while everybody's still asleep and there was no traffic. I stopped 3 times on my way in to talk to very confused gas station attendants, asking them how to navigate the Cloverleaf. When I finally got there and I got to my destination, I had to laugh because Dallas traffic in 1979 on a Sunday morning was a piece of cake. And folks, I'm here to tell you, you can't get stuck on a cloverleaf. So what happened in my mind? What happened? I accepted the thoughts, the negative thoughts and dire warnings that were implanted in my mind by my father, someone I trusted. And I reacted accordingly until I experienced a different reality and dissolved those fears forever. I'm not afraid of driving today. Dallas, Atlanta, LA, here. Actually, I'm afraid of driving here, but that's a different story. I was able to illuminate those fears through experience and forever dissolve them. And the truth is, this type of thing happens to us all the time, doesn't it? We listen to a newscast and we hear their fear and their opinions and we take them on. We take the words of an economist who says doom and gloom and we forget that God is our source. We allow the judgment by others to disintegrate our self-confidence and our self-worth. Perhaps the negative words and actions of parents or teachers or former clergy, not this one, right, have been implanted in our minds and created fear, perhaps not been healed yet. And the healing work is ours to do, is it not? We can talk about it all day long, but until we do the work from the inside, we're not going to heal. We're not going to shine the light. We have to mine the crevices of our conscious and subconscious mind and illuminate that fear. Shine the light of truth on it. Find our faith about it. Holmes sums this up with a statement that I found this statement very profound this week, and I've taken it into my meditation several times. He says, you will attract into your life those people, conditions, and events which validate your deepest beliefs. Your mind is preconditioned to prove yourself right. That is why it is very important to cleanse yourself of the junk values of the past and continually see yourself as a worthy and prosperous person. Isn't that powerful? He also provides us with some wonderful affirmations in the text that will help us to cleanse these junk values, as he calls them. He says, there is nothing arising out of the past that can disturb me. The past is swallowed up in the victory of a perfect present, which is filled with love and protection. He says, I see that the future is bright with promise. It beckons me forward into a more complete realization of my own worth and my rightful place in the universe. And finally, there is no future to be afraid of and no past to bring discord into the present. These are wonderful affirmations that go right along with our whole series this month. We opened up talking about the past, illuminating our past. Last week, Reverend Lee talked with us about illuminating the present. Today, it's fear. Next week is peace, and we'll wrap up the month with illuminating the future. What I've discovered that as I shine this light of truth in my own life, that many things that I used to fear have faded away. And that's a good feeling. I'm no longer afraid of things like lack and limitation. I'm not afraid of other people's opinions. I'm not afraid of a lot of the things that I'm not afraid of clover leaves. I'm not afraid of clover leaves. So as I thought about that, it's like, what am I doing? I'm keeping the light on. It's like Tom Bodette. I'll keep the light on, right? We have to keep our own internal light on so that that darkness can't come in and create those fears within us. That the boogeyman can't hide in the shadows anymore because there are no shadows. So how do I do it? How do I keep the light on? Spiritual practice, right? Spiritual practice. But it is so easy to get distracted. Am I the only one? Shiny things. Let's do that instead. And I've had a few things to be distracted about over the past few months. And some days, frequently, my spiritual practices fall by the wayside. And it's amazing to me that even now, at this stage of my life, what I do, that can still happen. But it does. Life throws us curveballs, does it not? Things get busy and complicated. But what I realize is during that time that my life's not working real good. I don't feel right. Things aren't going my way. I'm starting to pick up bad habits of thought, negative words and opinions. And that's when I know it's time to get back on my spiritual practices. My practice these days has evolved into reading the science of mind. I'm reading the whole thing for this year. And after that, I will take into my meditation either my message for the week, something that I've read. Perhaps there's something going on in the real estate office or in my life. Perhaps there's something going on with our center in some of your lives. And I take those things into my meditation and contemplation time. It's not so much the topic, it's the practice. It's the practice, the discipline of doing the practice. Jim, you were just right on for my message this morning. I appreciate you. Developing that spiritual discipline is so important. And it is not allowing myself to get distracted. Notice those words, not allowing myself to get distracted. That's different from saying that distracted me, right? That's kind of blaming something outside of ourselves when in reality, we allow it. We allow it. I don't allow myself to get distracted by my phone. That's the first thing, right? It sits by my bedside. It's my alarm clock these days. Got rid of all the clock radio and all that stuff. And it's my phone that is my alarm. So I have to touch it first thing in the morning. Do I have to look at my emails, Facebook, or the news headlines? No. If I do, I'm out of my practice. I don't allow myself to get pulled over to my laptop to work on personal or church business. I don't sit at the desk. I sit in my meditation chair. My process today is to get up, make a cup of tea, get into my meditation chair, and my nose goes in the science of mind. Not on my phone, not on my laptop. And I read. And then I turn the light off and I meditate for at least 20 minutes. And then after that, I can open the phone. I can get on the laptop, whatever I might need to do. But I do it from a different perspective. I do it from a place of center. I do it from a place of peace. What are your distractions? What is keeping you from a disciplined spiritual practice every day? What can you do to avoid your distractions? For me, it's not sitting in the same chair that I work at for my meditation. It's making sure I'm in a different spot. What can you do to develop that discipline for yourself? Learning to illuminate fear and transform it to faith empowers us to live as the light we are, that we're here to shine brightly. And this week, right on cue for my message, I got to practice shining my light, right? Isn't that how it works? This time in the real estate office. We've been working with a newish client for a couple of years now, and suddenly in the past month, they've not been behaving the same way towards us that they had been. They're a little quieter. They're not communicating as much. They're not as responsive to our requests and so forth. And there's 5 of us working on the deal. And one of them immediately said, they're positioning themselves to sell. They're selling the company. We're not going to have any more opportunities at all. It's going to be a horrible year come 2025. 2 of the other partners begin to buy into this. So every week I'm hearing the story. They're selling. It's obvious. Yes, they are. Of course they are. I'm going, this doesn't make sense. 5th partner comes in, and he's going, no, they're not. They're not selling. What are you talking about? Last Tuesday, I'd had enough of this negativity. So I said, what if they're over there strategizing about how they're going to accept the proposal we gave them about 30 days ago to provide more services to them in the coming year to help them grow and expand their business across the nation? What if that's what they're doing, and they're going to show up on our doorstep the first part of January and go, we're ready to go? And they went, huh? A couple days later, I start hearing that story in the office. Then Thursday, if they do show up, we're not ready. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's with the negativity? Oh my gosh. So what story are you making up about your life? Are you going with they're selling the company and oh my gosh? Or are you making up a better story? What if the universe is listening? Which one would you like it to hear? We'll see what happens in the new year. I'll keep you posted. It could be the affirmative. It could be the negative. It could be something out of the blue, right? We don't know. We'll see what happens. So what do you fear? What are you worried about? What's your perspective on it? Are you making up negative stories to go along with that? Are you turning it around to possibility? Are you turning it around to potential? Holmes reminds us that we must heal ourselves from worry, gain confidence in good, in truth, and in beauty, and use strong statements of faith. Erase our thoughts of doubt and worry. Make up a better story. If you find a negative story rattling around in your head or coming out of your mouth, catch yourself and turn it around. Make up a better story. You can use a simple mantra like, I have faith, I am faith, I abide in faith, to remind us of our faith and not our fear. Transmute our doubt and fear into peace and possibility. Our thoughts operate in universal law, yes? All the time. Not just sometimes, all the time. And our thoughts can help us to meet all of our needs. We can convert fear to faith through our thinking. We can convert loss into gain, failure into success through the power of our minds. As Holmes said, there's a power for good in the universe, and we can use it. We do use it every day, every moment. And as Daniel said, trained thought is much more powerful than untrained. And you got the training. This week, let's shine our light into those crevices, into the corners of our conscious and our subconscious mind. And frankly, that's where most of my work is now, is in the subconscious. And some of those hidden beliefs that I'm still bouncing around in there that need to be healed, that need to have some light shined on them. I've taken care of that surface stuff. That's in pretty good shape. But there's some deeper stuff that we need to pull up and shine some light on. Heal the fear and send that boogeyman packing for one last time. So if you would like to learn more about this and practice these principles we're about to give you, you can sign up for our Mindful Monday email. It comes out Monday mornings. Reverend Lee and I send you a breakdown of our talk today and these practices that you can use in your life to embody this teaching and put it to use as a way of living. As I said, the motivational stuff is great, but when we start applying it and practicing and using it in our lives, that's when we see our lives begin to truly transform. So you can sign up with the QR code, you can send an email, or you can sign up in the lobby. So your spiritual practice for this week is Illuminate the Fear. Go figure. So I invite you to illuminate your fears and transform them into faith. Commit to a daily spiritual practice. Notice what distracts you and avoid it. Choose to avoid it. Our spiritual practice can cast out fear and help us to recognize the presence of love, peace, and joy that's always present, no matter the circumstance or appearance. In your meditation, contemplate what you're afraid of, what you're no longer afraid of, and why. Why am I no longer afraid of that? We'll close it out this morning with a final thought from Ernest, who says, our part is to fearlessly face any apparently difficult situation. And instead of seeing the difficulty, transmute fear into faith of one who really believes. We have a little thing on our tree here that says believe. It's a good reminder to us. Do we believe? And so it is. Yes. And now it's your turn. Questions, comments, complaints?
So this speaks to me about Carl Jung and the shadow work that he does, or did, not does anymore.
I might.
But the fear, I think that the ultimate fear, the dark side, the shadow side of ourselves, is that if we revealed that to people, that they wouldn't love us if they saw who we really are. And I think in this community, we have enough people that can see us for who we really are and love us, even with a dark side. And so that's what I got out of the talk today.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah.
That's funny. That was actually the first talk I wrote.
Anyone else? Anyone else have?
Okay. I recognize getting out of the practice. By going through the classes, things like that. There was always a task, an assignment, something was always kind of going, and trusting myself to do it on my own now. It's I don't know what it must be a fear. A fear of a failure, a fear of not making the right decisions, not just a fear, and so you get distracted. And I appreciate the fact of getting the spiritual practice again.
Good. Yeah, that was in the first talk too. 10 things we're afraid of. Anyone else? Any comments, questions? Jane.
I don't want to say all this. Well, my husband and I are getting on in years, and his health isn't real good, and we're going back. We're going back to Missouri. I mean, full time selling,
honey.
and I'm just not real sure that I'm ready for that, but I think it's the right thing, and he does too. So give us encouragement in selling our. It'll go fast. I mean, we're staying until the beginning of May or sometime in April, so we've got time, and the place will sell. But that's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried how we're going to get through this.
Please know that we are here for you.
Yeah,
And
I felt that today.
yeah, we're here for you. We've got you in our prayers. We'll keep you both in our prayers.
Thank you.
And know divine right action and order through the entire process. Anybody else? All right. Shall we pray? So as we go within, we recognize that there is one life. That life is God. And there's nothing separate or outside of that. It is the infinite. It is the divine. It is that which is whole. It is that which is perfect. It is that which is the creator, the created, and the creation. It is all of it. For there's only one substance, there's only one source, there's only one supply. And we know this to be spirit, source, essence, presence, the universal energy, whatever we might call it. I choose to call it God. I know all of it is here now present, in, through, and as me, and in, through, and as each one of us gathered here today. For we are one. Whether we're listening online, listening later, or we sit here in the presence together this morning, there is no separation, there's no time, there's no space. We are one. And so in that unity, I speak my word for and about each of us gathered here today, knowing our individual and collective wholeness, knowing that we are peace and that we are the light. We are the light of God shining forth into this world, illuminating the darkness, illuminating the fears, illuminating the past and the present, and peace, and our futures. Though there is only light, there is only energy, there is only wholeness. I know that as we shine our light inward and illuminate the crevices, the dark and scary places within us, the shadows, if you will, that we find peace and we find healing and we find our faith. That whatever it is, whatever the situation may be, God's got this. Because God is right in the center of whatever is going on in our lives. Because it can be no place else. It is the center and circumference. I know this day for anyone that has anything on their heart that they are seeking prayer around, as they lift it into the consciousness of this room right here, right now, that we illumine and hold them in our love and our peace, and know that as they place that request into the law, that it is answered, made manifest right here, right now. And I'm grateful. Grateful to know that this is how the law works, that we speak our word and our word has power, that there is a power greater than we are and we can use it. And we do so now. We do so now by accepting that this prayer is made manifest. As I release it into that law, we affirm that truth together by saying, and so it is.